Friends, today we are talking about a mysterious and mind-bending movie. This is one of those films that quietly crawls into your mind and refuses to leave, forcing you to question reality, memory, and destiny itself. The story begins with a young woman named Leah, who arrives in a confused and nervous state at an unfamiliar apartment. When she knocks on the door, she herself has no clear idea why she is there. She openly admits how awkward the situation feels, as if she has been pulled to this place by something she cannot explain. The door opens, and we meet the main character, Woody, whose full name is Darwin Ward. He is the heart of this strange story. Woody is a children's book author living alone in a peculiar apartment that feels slightly out of time. Calm and oddly confident, he invites Leah inside and gently tells her not to worry, assuring her that she has come to the right place and that he already knows why she is there. Leah sits down while Woody steps into another room to fetch something. When he returns, he properly introduces himself. At that moment, Leah hands him a small wooden block with the letter D written on it. Woody reacts with visible excitement and explains that this is his missing D. He owns letter blocks that spell out his last name, Ward, but the D had disappeared. Without it, the word becomes war, a sight he deeply disliked. Woody then begins asking Leah a series of strange but precise questions. First, he asks her to complete the sentence, "You shall be." Without hesitation, Leah answers, "Rewarded," which pleases him greatly. Next, he asks if she remembers what she wore on the first day of 9th grade. Leah recalls wearing a white t-shirt on which she had written the word vandalism with a black marker, though she misspelled it as vandalism, admitting she was never good at spelling. The third question is simply, "Do you or don't you?" Leah instinctively replies, "I do," and once again, Woody seems satisfied. Then comes the most intriguing moment. Woody hands Leah a stone and asks her to close her eyes, squeeze it tightly, and imagine it changing color. Leah does so and says she sees the stone turning green, the exact shade of the walls in her childhood bedroom. Woody congratulates her and leads her toward a closet, explaining that it contains a small door that can only be opened from the other side. When it opens, she must step through. Nervous, Leah asks what lies beyond. Woody admits he does not know, but tells her not everyone can pass through this door. She is special, and he even feels a little jealous. He reassures her that she will be taken care of, like a little lamb. The scene then abruptly cuts to a television shopping channel, where a host enthusiastically sells sports memorabilia, specifically promoting a Burton Sanders rookie card. The scene shifts, and we see Woody standing near the mailboxes, where he meets a young woman. She casually explains that she has just received a check from her ex-boyfriend, the man who used to support her financially. According to her, this check is the only real joy of a breakup. Woody awkwardly tries to flirt and says that he lives right there, so if she ever needs sugar, she can stop by. Almost immediately, he realizes how strange and creepy that sounds, so he quickly apologizes, clearly embarrassed by his own words. The story then moves to a new character named Niles Kaminsky. Niles is a simple, ordinary man who owns a small collection of old baseball cards that once belonged to his father. One day, he receives a phone call from a man named Ripley Hewing, who is interested in buying a Burton Sanders rookie card. Ripley arrives to inspect the card and notices slight wear on one corner, meaning it is not in mint condition. Because of this, he offers $30 instead of the listed price of $40. Niles agrees without much hesitation. However, something unexpected happens that completely changes Niles' life. As Ripley looks through the box, he suddenly notices another card, and his eyes widen in shock. He asks Niles where he got it. Niles calmly replies that it belonged to his father. Ripley then explains that this is a 1972 Montgomery Boyd card from Boyd's first year playing in Milwaukee. He goes on to share the full story behind it. Montgomery Boyd was born in Brooklyn, New York, and was a lifelong Yankees fan. In 1970, his dream came true when the Yankees signed him. After 2 successful seasons, he was traded to Milwaukee, a move that deeply upset him. Ripley tells Niles to look closely at the bat in the photograph on the card. Niles notices the words "Yankees Forever" carved into it. Ripley explains that Boyd did this to express his frustration and loyalty to the Yankees before taking his first official photo in a Milwaukee uniform. At the time, no one noticed the carving, and the cards were released to the public. Once the message was discovered, the cards were immediately recalled. According to Ripley, only 5 of these cards ever made it into public circulation, making this one incredibly valuable. Niles is left completely stunned. Ripley promises to introduce him to a man named Proctor, who might be interested in buying the card. The scene then shifts back to Woody's apartment, where his neighbor Trudy is visiting. She looks around at the paintings on the walls and asks if Woody is a painter. Woody replies that he is not, and explains that the paintings were already there when he moved in. Curious, Trudy asks what he actually does. Woody shows her his children's books, and she is clearly impressed. She asks what he is currently working on. Woody admits that he is struggling with a new book titled Rutherford the Complacent Cat and has only managed to write 2 pages so far. He begins reading aloud. It has been said that cats are curious, but Rutherford was not a curious cat. He was a complacent one, and nothing made Rutherford more complacent than the comfort of his catnip-covered kitten caravan. Trudy asks what happens next, and Woody admits that this is all he has written so far. He says the words "but then" are written on the page, but he has no idea what comes after that. A quiet, romantic moment begins to build between them, filled with hesitation and unspoken interest. Suddenly, the printer in Woody's apartment turns on by itself, breaking the mood. Woody freezes. Trudy looks confused and asks if he has a girlfriend. Woody says no, but explains that he needs to answer the door. Trudy leaves, slightly unsettled. A new visitor arrives and Woody invites him inside. At the same time, the scene shifts to Niles, who arrives to meet Proctor with the Montgomery Boyd card. Proctor is an eccentric and extremely wealthy collector with strange habits. While examining Niles's belongings, he notices Niles's sketch pad and is impressed by his drawings. Proctor commissions him to draw a picture of a cat swimming. We then see Ripley arguing with his brother Penley. Their conversation turns emotional as they talk about their parents' deaths. Penley wanted a Monet book, explaining that art was something he shared with their mother, while baseball and music were things Ripley shared with their father. Ripley, overwhelmed and angry, accuses Penley of running away from pain instead of facing it. The scene returns to Proctor. Niles has finished the drawing, and Proctor is clearly pleased. He proposes a complicated deal. He shows Niles a briefcase full of money and asks him to deliver the drawing to a specific address, 36,231 Milo, apartment 27, with the passcode 027. As Niles is leaving, Proctor's assistant, Lillian, quietly tells him to do whatever Proctor says, no matter how peculiar it seems, and to trust the process. The story shifts again, this time to Woody meeting his literary agent. She asks about the progress of his book and becomes frustrated with his lack of results. She gives him a strict 6-week deadline. At that exact moment, the doorbell rings and Leah returns. Woody is completely shocked because he has never seen anyone come back after going through the door. Leah explains that she returned almost a week ago. She asks Woody if there is some tragedy in his past that he wants to undo. We then meet Moses, the building's landlord. Woody asks him what he knows about the stone that is given to visitors. Woody reveals that 5 years ago on this very day, his parents died, and that today he learned he might be able to bring them back. Moses calmly tells him that it does not work that way. Just then, Niles arrives to deliver the drawing. Woody invites him in and asks him the same 3 questions. The first is, "You shall be," and Niles answers, "Rewarded." The second is about the first time he smoked a cigarette. Niles recalls finding a half-smoked cigarette after a Little League baseball game and trying it with a friend. The third question is, "I'm happy, true or false?" Niles answers, "False." Woody then hands him the stone and asks him to visualize it changing. He leads Niles to the closet and explains that when the small door opens, he must step inside, and his life will be forever better. Now we hear a dark backstory. Niles explains that when he was 19, he was desperate, angry, and selfish. He and a friend planned a robbery. They had guns. His friend worked for a landscaping company and took care of a particular house, and they knew the family was supposed to be on vacation. But when they broke in, the family was home. There was a husband, a wife, and 2 young sons. The friend held the wife at gunpoint while the husband was holding a rifle. When the wife saw Niles, she screamed. The husband turned, and in a moment of pure panic, Niles fired his gun. His friend then shot the wife. As they ran away, Niles could hear the children screaming behind them. Then someone tells Niles the story of Emily Van Buren. Emily was a 54-year-old heiress. One day while crying at her mother's grave, she noticed 2 small boys at a nearby grave, crying for their parents. Both parents had died on the same day. Seeing those boys gave Emily a completely new perspective on life. She began volunteering at an animal shelter, and one day she saw a newspaper photo of the same boys with a caption stating they had been orphaned during a home invasion. Deeply moved, Emily founded the Van Buren Foundation to help neglected children. She also created the Ebenezer Scholarship, through which Stephen Stillwater went to MIT and developed an improved version of the PET scan that helped detect cancer earlier. That scan ended up saving Tali Bozo, who later led a revolution in his country and helped restore peace. After hearing all this, Niles asks if what he did ultimately led to something good. The answer is absolutely not. What happened cannot be justified, and undoing it would be disastrous. Everything happens for a reason, Niles is told. The scene shifts. Woody reads his new book, Theodore and the Stubborn Rock, to his agent. She does not like it at all and decides to drop him as a client. Shortly after, Moses appears and escorts another visitor toward the door. Woody asks if the visitor will not be asked any questions. Moses replies that this one passes and that Woody should trust him. Frustrated, Woody explodes. He says he never asked questions, did everything he was told, but now the door gives second chances to junkies and prostitutes while he is somehow not worthy. He reveals that on the day of his college graduation, his parents were going out to dinner. He told them to go ahead without him, and they died in a car accident. He asks if that is not something worth erasing. Moses calmly says it does not work that way. Woody demands to know what the man who just went through the closet is undoing. Rape? Murder? Moses explains that the man had been on a game show, was winning, risked everything, and walked away with nothing. At last, Woody himself steps through the mysterious door. He wakes up in a new place. A voice says, "Good morning, Woody. Welcome to happiness." Confused and disoriented, Woody asks where he is. A man leads him to a room and tells him he will be right there when Woody comes back out. Woody then meets Osmond Thatcher and his wife Claiborne. Woody asks where he is. Osmond replies that it is strange. Woody was so desperate to come here, yet he does not even know what here is. Claiborne then asks him what he wants to undo. Woody answers honestly, jealousy. He says he was jealous of watching everyone else go through the door, and he felt undeserving. Claiborne responds bluntly, saying that is because he truly was not deserving. Osmond explains that the people who pass through the gateway are hopeless, rejected, and brokenhearted. They have hit rock bottom, and only then do they go through the door. Woody argues that by taking back the day he moved into the apartment, everything would change. Osmond tells him to push the button, but Woody hesitates. He realizes that if he pushes it, he would never have written his first book, which was based on Clemente Moses, and he would never have met Trudy. Claiborne tells him that making a list of pros and cons is pointless. Osmond adds that even if Woody brings his parents back, the drunk driver would still go to prison, but that driver's infant son would then suffer abuse that never happened before. The web of cause and effect is infinite. Claiborne explains that suffering will always exist, just as joy will. The real question is how we deal with it. Pushing the button will not change that. Woody asks if refusing to push the button means he will return to the apartment. Claiborne tells him no. His obligation as a tenant has been fulfilled, and they have already found a replacement. It is time for him to move on. She assures him that he will be happy again. Suddenly, Woody has a realization. He says the name Rutherford out loud and becomes excited. That is it. That is perfect. Osmond tells him to go and write it. Woody returns and meets Leah, who asks what his book is about. He tells her it is about a cat. Then he remembers that Leah once gave him a drawing of a cat and asks if she would like to illustrate his children's book. Leah agrees. The scene shifts to Ripley meeting Proctor. Proctor wants to see the Montgomery Boyd card and is clearly impressed when he does. Ripley then says that he loved the book and wants to trade the card for it. Proctor is shocked and asks if Ripley is really willing to trade a mint-condition Montgomery Boyd card for a Monet book. Ripley says Monet was a great artist. Proctor agrees to the deal and invites Ripley to dinner. Ripley declines, explaining that he has to meet a real estate agent to sell his parents' house. In the next scene, Woody is back at the apartment. Ripley arrives as the new tenant. Woody introduces him to the place, says goodbye, and tells him it was nice having him there. Ripley wishes him good luck. In the final scene, Woody is reading to a group of children from his new book. He says they will be reading Rutherford the Complacent Cat. He begins, "It has been said that cats are curious, but Rutherford was not a curious cat. He was a complacent one. And nothing made Rutherford more complacent than the comfort of his catnip-covered kitten caravan." And the story ends. Friends, this movie leaves us with a deep message. We all want to fix our past mistakes and undo our regrets. But the truth is that everything has a purpose. What feels bad to us may turn out to be good for someone else. The web of cause and effect is incredibly complex. Woody finally accepts that life, exactly as it is already complete. He did not need to push the button. He only needed to change his perspective. And when he did, he finally found the inspiration he had been searching for all along.